Tuesday, week 1, still quarter 4. So this is going to be the lesson part of today's like 40-50 minute math session. So for today, guys, as I mentioned yesterday, we are going to move on to polygons. Your objective is students will be able to distinguish and find total degrees of a polygon. So we have two main things, and these two things that I need to check off at the end of this video. So one is making sure that we define what polygon is, and then also find the angle measurement of a square. So before this, if you haven't done your warm-up, please go ahead and do that. Pause the video and go do the link. That's going to help us kind of figure out what a polygon looks like, or we might have an idea of what kind of shape that might look like, but that little warm-up will definitely help you out on that. Okay, so if you haven't done it, go ahead and do that right now. You can just pause the video. All right, but if you've done that, let's go ahead and move on. I do want to go ahead and introduce something super cool. I was super excited about this. I was able to connect my iPad onto my TV, so now it's like bringing a little bit of our Metri home actual physical classroom into this online space. So it's going to be kind of like the old days when we were together in the classroom. So I'm going to go over it and then we're going to go on from there. So your materials for today, please, and actually like for the rest of the quarter, keep a notebook for reals this time. I know I've said it a billion times, but like this quarter you're going to need it, just because you're going to be doing all this work and I want you to place it somewhere. So please find a notebook, or if you just like paper in a binder, I need you to have that. All the work that we're doing, all your warm-ups, all your classworks, all the notes that we're going to be doing together have to be in that notebook. I want you to keep it somewhere safe and together. Okay, so today you're going to need your pen, pencil, your notebook. Okay, so again, your warm-up that should have been done already. The video should take no longer than 15 minutes. Again, we're going to go over polygons and then angle measurements of a square. Independent work is only 25 minutes. You only have 6 questions. And then lastly, your exit ticket. It's just for me to check for understanding, see if you're understanding what we did today, see if you guys are watching this video. It also has a few questions in there that don't relate to math, but it does relate to this video. So if you watch this video, you're gonna get that question correct. Okay, all right, and I hope you guys enjoy this fun little pun. Okay, if you have any questions, please email me, but we're gonna move on to what our actual lesson is today. Okay, all right guys, so as I mentioned before, we're starting polygons. So right now what I'm gonna ask you to do, please go ahead and take out your notebook and write try to write your objective. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to go ahead and do that. And it would also be useful for you to write these two things down, because that's going to keep you accountable and myself accountable that if we defined a polygon and figured out the angle measurements of a square, then we did this entire lesson correctly and we learned something today. Something new. Alright, hopefully I give you enough time. I'm going to go ahead and get started. In case you were wondering, the person that's recording is my sister. So I'm going to step away and ask her to just record the TV for right now. Okay. Alright, so our first thing that we need to do is we're going to go ahead and define what a polygon is. As I mentioned before, you should have done your warm-up, and that should have helped you out a little bit. So I'm going to define it, and I'm going to show you how you can break up the word and understand what it means that way. So poly means multiple, and then gon just means angles. So if we were to put these two together, our definition of a polygon is a shape with multiple angles. Okay, so and now like what does that mean, right? So it means any shape that has more than 3, more than 4, more than 8 angles, that is a polygon. So some examples are a triangle is a polygon. We have, you can say a square is a polygon, right? Multiple angles. Here we have 3 angles. Here we have 4 angles. And then we also have a octagon, has various angles. Sorry, I didn't draw this perfectly. And you can name them, etc. Right? There's so many, but this is only a few of them. So now what does this mean? How are we going to go ahead, like how do we connect defining a polygon with finding the measurement of a triangle? Sorry, of a square. So this entire week, today, we're gonna find the angle measurements, the internal angle measurements of a square. However, later on, we're gonna figure out how do we find the angle measurements of an octagon. We've never worked with octagons, right? We know that angle measurements of a triangle, and I hope that in your head you said it's 180 degrees, right? We know that already. We're gonna figure out how do we connect that we know that this triangle measures 180 degrees. How do we connect it to a square? How do we connect it to an octagon? How do we connect it to a pentagon, and so on and so forth? Okay, but today we're gonna start slow and just figure out what the square is. Okay, what is that angle measurement? So again, one last time, polygon is a shape with multiple angles. Right, a shape with multiple angles. So I hope that you guys are writing all of this down, right? So these are your notes. So now I'm gonna do the notes with you guys instead of having you printed, having me print them for you like we did in the classroom. Now we're gonna do them together. So now we're gonna figure out the angle measurements of a square. And I'm gonna go back to something that we already know, right? A triangle. We know the angle measurement of this triangle, and again, I hope that you all say 180 degrees, right? This is called the triangle sum theorem, sorry. Right, the triangle sum theorem, we've studied this before, nothing new. Right, but now we're trying to figure out, okay, well, how much is a square's angle, total angle measurement? Okay, go ahead and give yourself like 45 seconds and try to figure this out. How do you know? So there's various ways for you to figure this out, okay? So I'm gonna give you 2. Both are right, whichever one works with you is fine. So you should automatically see, well, I see that I have a 90-degree angle here, a 90-degree angle there, here, and here. So this means that I'm doing 90 degrees plus 90 degrees plus 90 degrees plus 90 degrees. And if we add all of that up, and I hope you guys are all saying it, that adds up to 360 degrees. Right, but this one was simple, right? So that means the total angle measurement of a square is 360 degrees. I'm going to show you a different way of knowing that, that's going to help us later on in the week, maybe even tomorrow. So if we look at this square, sorry, I'm going to clear it off. If we look at a square, we already knew that a triangle equals 180 degrees. How many triangles are in a square? hope you guys are all screaming at me that there's 2 triangles in this square, right? So if we know that a triangle is 180 degrees, then go ahead and connect that to this square. So if one triangle is 180 degrees and then the second triangle is also 180 degrees, if we add those 2 together, then that still gives us what we figured out like a few seconds ago, that a triangle measurement, a square, the total angle measurement of a square is 360 degrees. Right? We just folded this square in half, and it gave us 2 different triangles. Okay, so remember, I've always said that something more complex is always derived from something super simple. Okay, so now I'm gonna ask my sister to come back up here. That is pretty much the end of today's lesson. I'm probably gonna do one example with all of you right now, but I just want to make sure that you guys know the 2 different points that we're trying to hit today. Right, again, defining a polygon, we said a polygon is a shape that has multiple angles, right? We did that, and then we also figured out the angle measurement of a square, which we just said that when a square contains 2 triangles, we know that those triangles equal 180 degrees. So if we add them together, we get 360. Awesome. We hit our points. Okay, so now I'm just gonna do one example with you guys. If you need it, awesome. If you don't need it, then go ahead and move on to your independent practice. It's right below your where it says independent practice on your Canvas account. You can either print it if you have that ability, or you can just rewrite it onto your notebook. Okay, and then don't forget to take the exit ticket. And then I think that's about it. Again, I'm going to do one more example with all of you. If you guys need any assistance, then you guys can come back to this. We have to find x. Alright, and we've done this before with triangles, so it's now just relating it to squares. So again, we know, what do we know? We know that a square equals 360 degrees when you add all angles, right? So if I add all my angles, it has to equal 360 degrees. I know I have 4 angles right here, so I'm going to go ahead and do 2x plus 2x plus 90 plus 90. And again, I know that the total angle measurement of a square is 360, so it must equal 360. So now again, this is the thing that we are always having a little bit of trouble with, manipulation of expressions, but that's all you're doing. You're gonna go ahead and add your like terms. This is for x, add 90 plus 90 is 180 equals 360. We're trying to figure out what x is, so we want x to be by itself. We're going to subtract 180. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. And I ran out of space. I'm going to move over here. So now we're left with 4x equals 180 degrees. My x is still not by itself, so I'm going to go ahead and divide by 4. Divide by 4. So x is approximately... So x is 45 degrees. Okay, that is all we're doing. So that is all you're doing in your independent practice. So again, you're just defining polygons, their angle measurements, and trying to find what they're asking you for. So make sure you're reading directions. Okay, if you guys have any questions at all, my office hours are at 2. I will be on. Please let me know. And then once you're done with this, your independent practice, go ahead and take the exit ticket, okay? If you guys have any questions, email me, jump into the Google Hangouts for my office hours. I will be there. Okay. I think that's all for today. Have a great rest of your day.